Cancer. The conversation that ends the uncertainty. There is a conversation you have been avoiding, and it is the one thing standing between you and everything you want. If you were born under Cancer, this message will change the way you see your next chapter. Right now, you are sitting in a space of emotional weight. You feel it when you wake up. You feel it in the quiet moments when nobody else is around. There is something unresolved, something that keeps circling back no matter how many times you push it away. The hardest part is not the situation itself. The hardest part is not knowing what to do next. That uncertainty, it drains you more than any problem ever could. You have been strong for so long. You have carried things most people would never notice. And yet here you are, wondering if the ground beneath you is solid enough to hold what is coming. The answer is yes. Not because things will magically fix themselves, but because you are about to understand something that changes how you move through every relationship, every decision, and every fear that has been quietly running your life. What I am about to share is not surface-level advice. These are the exact shifts that Cancer needs right now. Some of this will feel uncomfortable. Some will feel like relief, but all of it will feel true. Stay until the very end because the last thing I share ties everything together in a way you will not expect. Tip 1. Stop waiting for certainty before you act. Cancer, you have spent so much of your life waiting for the right moment. Waiting for a sign. Waiting for someone to go first. Waiting for the feeling of safety before you take a single step forward. And I understand why. Your nature craves security. You want to know that the bridge is solid before you walk across it. You want to feel in your gut that everything is going to be okay before you commit to anything. But here is the truth that no one has told you directly enough. Certainty is not coming. It never was. The feeling you have been waiting for. That perfect sense of readiness, that calm knowing that says now is the time. It does not arrive before you move. It arrives after. Think about every important thing you have ever done in your life. Every relationship you entered. Every change you made. Every leap you took. Were you completely sure beforehand? Were you free of doubt? Of course not. You were terrified. You were unsure. You had 1,000 reasons to stay exactly where you were. And yet you moved. And once you moved, the clarity came. The confidence came. The certainty you were looking for showed up the moment you stopped waiting for it. This is not just a nice idea. This is how your energy works as a Cancer. You are a water sign. Water does not wait for permission to flow. It moves around obstacles. It finds the path of least resistance. It shapes the landscape not through force, but through persistent motion. When you sit still and wait for certainty, you are going against your own nature. You are trying to be a stone when you were born to be a river. And that tension, that is what creates the anxiety you feel. That is what creates the restlessness that wakes you up at 3 in the morning. It is not because something is wrong with you. It is because something inside you knows you are supposed to be moving. So what does this mean practically? It means the next decision you are sitting on. The one you have been turning over in your mind for days or weeks or maybe even months. You already know what to do. You have known for a while. The delay is not about needing more information. The delay is about fear. And fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a compass. It points directly at the thing that matters most. When you feel afraid of something, it usually means that thing has the power to change your life. And you know this. Deep down, past all the overthinking and the what-ifs and the worst-case scenarios, you know that the thing you are afraid of is the thing you need to do. I am not saying be reckless. I am not saying ignore your instincts. Your instincts are one of your greatest gifts. But there is a difference between instinct and avoidance. Instinct says be careful. Avoidance says do nothing. Learn to tell them apart because that single distinction will change the trajectory of everything that comes next for you. And here is one more thing about certainty that I want you to sit with. The people you admire most. The ones who seem to have figured life out. They were never certain either. They were just willing to act without certainty. They understood that clarity is a product of action, not a prerequisite for it. You do not figure out whether you can swim by standing on the shore analyzing the water. You figure it out by getting in. And yes, it is uncomfortable at first. Yes, the temperature shocks your system. Yes, there is a moment of panic when your feet leave the bottom. But then your body remembers what it was designed to do. And you move. Not perfectly, not gracefully, but forward. Always forward. That is all that is required of you right now. Not perfection, not a flawless plan, just forward motion, just one step away from where you have been standing for too long. Tip 2. Have the conversation you keep rehearsing in your head. There is someone in your life right now, and you have been having a conversation with them in your mind for a long time. You know exactly what you want to say. You have rehearsed it in the shower. You have run through every possible response they could give. You have imagined the best outcome and the worst outcome and everything in between. But you have not actually said the words. Not out loud. Not to their face. And that gap between what you are thinking and what you are expressing, that is where your energy is leaking. That is where your peace is being stolen. Cancer, you are one of the most emotionally intelligent signs in existence. You can read a room before you even walk into it. You can feel what someone is thinking before they say a single word. And because of that sensitivity, you often convince yourself that the conversation is not necessary. You tell yourself they already know how you feel. You tell yourself it will only make things worse. You tell yourself the timing is not right. But the truth is, the conversation is not about them. It is about you. It is about releasing what you have been holding. It is about speaking your truth not because the other person needs to hear it, but because you need to say it. Every word you swallow becomes weight. Every feeling you suppress becomes pressure. And over time, that pressure builds until it comes out sideways. As resentment, as withdrawal, as that quiet coldness that confuses the people who love you. You do not mean to shut down. You do not want to pull away. But when you carry too much inside without releasing it, your system protects itself the only way it knows how. It closes. And once you close, it takes so much energy to open back up again. The conversation you need to have is not going to destroy anything that is real. If a relationship cannot survive your honesty, it was not built on truth to begin with. And you deserve relationships built on truth. You deserve connections where you can say what you feel without performing, without editing, without shrinking yourself to fit someone else's comfort zone. This week, I want you to choose one conversation. Just one. Not the biggest one. Not the scariest one. Just one that matters. And I want you to say the thing you have been holding back. You do not need a script. You do not need the perfect words. You just need to open your mouth and let the truth come through. The relief you will feel on the other side is something no amount of journaling or meditating can replicate. Some things need to be spoken into existence, and this is one of them. The conversation that ends the uncertainty. It starts with your voice, not your thoughts. Your voice. Use it. And I want to add something important here. The fear you feel about having this conversation. It is almost always bigger than the conversation itself. You have built it up in your mind to be this enormous, terrifying event. But in reality, most honest conversations last only a few minutes. A few minutes of discomfort in exchange for weeks, months, sometimes years of relief. That is a trade worth making. And more often than not, the other person has been waiting for you to say something too. They have sensed the distance. They have felt the shift. They just did not know how to name it. When you speak first, you do not just free yourself. You free both of you. You create an opening for a deeper, more honest connection to emerge. And even if the conversation does not go perfectly, even if the words come out clumsy and imperfect, the act of speaking truth changes something fundamental inside you. It reminds you that your voice matters, that your feelings deserve to be expressed, that you are not here to be small and silent. You are here to be heard. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Tip 3. Stop absorbing what does not belong to you. This one is going to hit close to home, and I need you to really hear it. Cancer, you absorb emotions like a sponge absorbs water. You walk into a room and within seconds, you are carrying feelings that are not yours. Someone is stressed. You feel the tension in your shoulders. Someone is sad. You feel the heaviness in your chest. Someone is angry. You feel the heat rising in your stomach. And most of the time, you do not even realize it is happening. You think those feelings are yours. You think something is wrong with you. You wonder why you feel so exhausted after a simple gathering. Why you need so much time alone to recover. Why social situations that other people find energizing leave you completely drained. It is because you are doing double duty. You are processing your own emotions and everyone else's at the same time. And no one taught you how to separate the two. This is not a weakness. Let me say that again so it sinks in. This is not a weakness. Your ability to feel deeply is one of the most powerful gifts you carry. It is what makes you an incredible friend, an intuitive partner, a nurturing presence in every space you enter. People feel safe around you because on some level they know you understand them without words. But that gift becomes a burden when you do not learn how to manage it. When you absorb everything without filtering, you lose yourself. You forget where you end and other people begin. You make decisions based on their emotions instead of your own. You sacrifice your peace to maintain theirs. And that is not love. That is self-abandonment. Starting today, I want you to begin a practice of checking in with yourself before and after every interaction. Before you walk into a room, notice how you feel. Are you calm? Are you anxious? Are you content? Name it. And then after the interaction, check again. Has something shifted? Do you feel heavier? Do you feel different than you did before? If so, ask yourself one simple question. Is this mine? That question alone will begin to change everything. Because once you start identifying which emotions belong to you and which ones you have picked up from others, you can start setting them down. You can start choosing what you carry. And that choice, that is where your power lives. You were never meant to carry the emotional weight of every person you encounter. You were meant to feel deeply, yes, but feeling deeply and carrying everything are not the same thing. One is a gift. The other is a pattern that needs to be broken, and you are ready to break it. Here is something else that happens when you carry emotions that are not yours. You start making life decisions based on feelings that do not actually belong to you. You quit a job not because you are unhappy, but because someone around you was unhappy and you mistook their dissatisfaction for your own. You end a relationship not because it was wrong for you, but because someone else's anxiety infected your perception. You move, you change, you rearrange your entire life based on emotional data that was never yours to begin with. And then you look back and wonder why the change did not bring relief. It did not bring relief because the problem was never yours. The weight was never yours. You were solving someone else's equation and wondering why the answer did not fit your life. When you learn to distinguish your emotions from the emotions you absorb, you gain something precious. Clarity. True, undiluted clarity about what you actually feel, what you actually want, and what actually needs to change in your life. That clarity is the foundation for every good decision you will ever make going forward. Tip 4. Release the version of you that was built to please others. Cancer, somewhere along the way, you learned that your value was tied to what you could do for other people. You learned that being needed was the same as being loved. You learned that if you could just be helpful enough, supportive enough, selfless enough, then you would earn your place. And so you built a version of yourself designed to please. A version that says yes when it means no. A version that smiles when it wants to cry. A version that puts everyone else first and then wonders why there is nothing left at the end of the day. This version of you served a purpose once. Kept you safe. It earned you approval. It helped you navigate environments where being yourself felt dangerous. But that version has reached its expiration date. And if you keep wearing it, it will cost you everything that matters. It will cost you your health, because the stress of constant self-suppression lives in your body. It shows up as tension, as fatigue, as that persistent feeling of being run down no matter how much rest you get. It will cost you your relationships, because people-pleasing is not generosity. It is a transaction. You give so that you will be valued. And when people do not reciprocate the way you expect, you feel betrayed. But they never agreed to the terms you set in your own mind. They did not know there was an invisible scorecard. It will cost you your dreams, because every hour you spend managing someone else's life is an hour you are not spending on your own. Every time you drop your goals to help someone else reach theirs, you are making a statement about whose life matters more. And I know that is not what you intend, but intention does not matter as much as impact. And the impact of chronic people-pleasing is a life that looks generous on the outside and feels empty on the inside. The version of you that the world needs now is not the caretaker. It is the creator. It is the person who has the courage to say, this is what I need. This is what I want. This is where I am going. And I love you. But I cannot keep abandoning myself to make your journey easier. That is not selfish. That is the most loving thing you can do. Because when you take care of yourself first, you show up better for everyone. Not from depletion, from overflow. And there is a massive difference between giving from overflow and giving from an empty cup. One sustains you, the other destroys you slowly. Choose wisely. And I want to be very clear about what happens when you finally release this version of yourself. The people who truly love you, they will adjust. They will learn to see the real you. They will respect the boundaries you set. And yes, some people will leave. Some people will not know how to relate to a version of you that no longer puts their needs above your own. And that loss will hurt. It will feel like confirmation of your deepest fear. That without your usefulness, you are not enough. But that is the lie breaking apart. That is the old programming disintegrating. And what remains after it falls away is something stronger, something truer, something infinitely more valuable than the performance you have been giving. What remains is you, the actual you. And that person is more than enough. That person has always been more than enough. You just could not see it because you were too busy being everything for everyone else. Tip 5. Trust the timing even when it feels unbearably slow. I know this is a hard one for you, because when you want something, Cancer, you feel it with your entire being. You do not just think about it. You live in it. You imagine it. You build entire worlds around it in your mind. And when the physical reality does not match the vision you are holding, the gap feels unbearable. You start to wonder if you did something wrong, if the universe forgot about you, if maybe you are just not meant to have the things your heart longs for. But listen to me carefully. The delay is not a denial. The waiting is not punishment. And the silence is not abandonment. What is happening right now, in this space between where you are and where you want to be, is preparation. Not just preparation of the circumstances around you, but preparation of you. Because the version of you that set the intention, that made the wish, that planted the seed, that version is not the same version who will receive it. Growth has to happen in the gap. Strengthening has to happen in the waiting. And if everything arrived the moment you asked for it, you would not be ready to hold it. Think about a time when you got something too soon. Before you were ready. Before you had the skills or the emotional maturity or the stability to sustain it. What happened? It fell apart. Not because you were not worthy, but because you were not yet prepared. And the universe, or whatever you choose to call the intelligence that governs timing, loves you too much to give you something you cannot keep. So the waiting is an act of love. I know it does not feel that way. I know it feels like torture some days. I know you look around and see other people getting the things you want and you wonder what they have that you do not. But comparison is the thief of gratitude. And gratitude is the frequency that draws your desires closer. Every time you choose to trust the timing instead of fighting it, you align yourself more deeply with the outcome you are seeking. Every time you choose patience over panic, you strengthen the foundation that will hold everything you are building. Your time is not running out. Your window is not closing. Your opportunity is not passing you by. It is assembling itself, piece by piece. And when it arrives, it will be so complete, so right, so perfectly aligned that you will understand exactly why it took this long. You will look back and say, thank goodness it did not happen sooner. But you have to trust the process to get there. And while you are waiting, do not confuse patience with passivity. Trusting the timing does not mean sitting on the couch and hoping. It means continuing to show up. It means continuing to do the inner work. It means continuing to prepare yourself for what is coming, even when you cannot see it yet. The farmer plants the seed and trusts that it will grow. But the farmer also waters the soil. The farmer also removes the weeds. The farmer also tends to the ground. Trust and effort are not opposites. They are partners. And when you combine them, when you pair deep trust with consistent effort, something magical begins to unfold. The doors that were closed start to crack open. The conversations that needed to happen begin to find their way to you. The right people, the right circumstances, the right opportunities start aligning in ways that feel almost orchestrated. Because they are. The timing is not random, and neither is your position within it. You are exactly where you need to be right now to receive what is being prepared for you. Tip 6. Stop romanticizing the past. Cancer, your memory is a double-edged sword. You remember everything. The way someone looked at you on a particular evening, the exact words they said, the feeling in the air, the song that was playing, You store these moments like treasures, and you return to them over and over again when the present feels uncertain. And there is beauty in that. Your ability to hold on to meaningful moments is part of what makes you so deeply human. But there is a shadow side to this gift that I need you to see. When you spend too much time in the past, you begin to distort it. You remember the good and forget the bad. You remember the warmth and forget the pain. You remember the connection and forget the disconnection. And slowly, without realizing it, you create a version of the past that never actually existed. A golden age that feels more real than the present. A relationship that seems more loving than it was. A time that feels safer than now. And from that distorted memory, you make decisions. You go back to people who hurt you because you remember the version of them that did not. You stay stuck in situations because you are comparing the imperfect present to a perfect past that was never perfect. You resist new opportunities because nothing can compete with the fiction you have created. This is one of the most subtle and dangerous patterns that Cancer carries, and it operates almost entirely below the level of conscious awareness. You do not realize you are doing it until you are deep in it, until you have texted someone you should not have, until you have talked yourself out of a new beginning because it does not match the fantasy of an old one. I am asking you to do something brave right now. I am asking you to let the past be what it actually was. Not the highlight reel. Not the carefully curated collection of beautiful moments. The whole thing. The good and the bad. The love and the neglect. The connection and the loneliness. When you see it clearly, you will stop wanting to go back. You will stop mourning something that was never as whole as you remember it being. And in that space, something remarkable happens. You become available for what is coming next. You open a door that nostalgia had been keeping locked. And what walks through that door might be the very thing you have been waiting for all along. But it cannot find you if you are sitting in a room with your back to the future, staring at a version of the past that no longer exists. There is a simple practice that can help you with this. When you catch yourself drifting back, when the nostalgia starts pulling you under, pause and ask yourself, what am I avoiding in the present? Because that is usually the answer. Nostalgia is not really about the past. It is about escaping the discomfort of now. It is about retreating to a time when things felt simpler, even if they were not actually simple. And the only way to break the cycle is to turn around, face the present, face the discomfort, face the beautiful, terrifying, uncertain reality of this moment. Because this moment is the only one you can actually live in. The past is a memory. The future is a possibility. But right now is where everything happens. And right now is asking for your full attention. Give it that. Not the leftover scraps you have after spending hours in the museum of your mind. Give the present your best energy. Give it your curiosity. Give it your hope. And watch how it responds. Watch how life opens up when you finally stop looking backward and start looking around. Tip 7. Protect your energy like it is sacred. Let me tell you something that is going to change the way you move through every single day going forward. Your energy is not unlimited. I know that sounds obvious, but the way you live suggests you have not fully accepted it. You give your time freely. You give your attention freely. You give your emotional bandwidth freely. And then you wonder why you feel like you have nothing left. Cancer, you treat your energy like it is a renewable resource that will always refill itself. But it does not. Not automatically. Not without intentional rest, boundaries, and protection. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to something that fills you. Every time you answer a call you do not want to answer, sit through a conversation you do not want to have, show up to an event you do not want to attend, you are spending energy that could have gone toward your own healing, your own growth, your own joy. And the cost adds up. It shows up as brain fog, as irritability, as that feeling of being overwhelmed by tasks that should feel simple, as the inability to enjoy things that used to bring you pleasure. That is not depression. That is depletion. And the cure is not more rest. The cure is fewer drains. I want you to take an honest inventory of where your energy goes in a typical week. Write it down if you need to. Who takes your energy? What activities drain you? What commitments leave you feeling empty? And then I want you to ask yourself a question that might feel uncomfortable. Do I actually want to keep doing this? Because obligation is not the same as desire. Duty is not the same as purpose. And guilt is not a good enough reason to keep giving pieces of yourself to things that do not nourish you. You have permission to say no. You have permission to leave. You have permission to change your mind. You have permission to put yourself first without writing a 10-page essay about why it is justified. Your energy is the single most valuable thing you possess. More valuable than money. More valuable than time. Because without energy, time and money mean nothing. You could have all the hours in the world and all the resources available, and if you are depleted, you will not enjoy any of it. So protect your energy like the sacred resource it is. Guard it fiercely, spend it wisely, and stop apologizing for having limits. Limits are not weakness. Limits are wisdom. And here is something that might surprise you. When you start protecting your energy, the quality of your relationships actually improves, not the quantity. You might have fewer people around you, but the ones who remain will be the ones who respect you enough to honor your boundaries. The ones who stay are the ones who value you for who you are, not for what you provide. And those relationships, the ones built on mutual respect instead of emotional dependency, those are the relationships that will sustain you for years to come. The draining connections will fall away, and at first that will feel like loss. But in time, you will recognize it as liberation. You will look back and wonder how you ever carried so much for so long. And you will be grateful that you finally chose yourself, that you finally said enough, that you finally understood that protecting your energy is not about shutting people out. It is about letting the right ones in, the ones who fill you up instead of emptying you out. Those people exist, and they are waiting for you to create the space for them by releasing the ones who no longer serve your growth. Tip 8. Let people see the real you. This is the one that is going to make you uncomfortable, and that is exactly why it matters most. Cancer, you are a master of emotional camouflage. You can be falling apart on the inside and present a perfectly calm exterior to the world. You can be drowning in pain and still show up with a smile and ask everyone else how they are doing. You have perfected the art of hiding, and you have convinced yourself that it is strength. But it is not. It is armor. And the problem with armor is that it does not just keep the bad things out. It keeps the good things out too. When you hide your true self, you prevent genuine connection. You attract people who love the version of you that you perform, not the version you actually are. And then you feel lonely in rooms full of people. You feel unseen in relationships that seem loving. You feel misunderstood by people who genuinely want to know you. But how can they know you when you will not let them in? The walls you have built were necessary once. They protected you during times when being vulnerable was not safe, when showing your feelings led to rejection, when being honest about your needs led to punishment. Those walls kept you alive, but you are not in that environment anymore. And the walls that once protected you are now imprisoning you. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of everything meaningful in human experience. Love cannot grow without it. Trust cannot deepen without it. Intimacy of any kind, emotional, physical, spiritual, requires the willingness to be seen exactly as you are. Not the polished version, not the strong version, not the version that has it all together. The real version, the messy, uncertain, sometimes struggling version that you keep hidden behind closed doors. I am not asking you to bare your soul to everyone you meet. Vulnerability requires safety, and not everyone has earned the right to see your depths. But I am asking you to start with one person you trust, one person who has shown you through their actions, not just their words, that they can hold space for the truth of who you are. Let them see you, really see you, without the mask, without the performance, without the carefully constructed narrative of having everything under control. And watch what happens. Watch how the relationship deepens. Watch how the relief floods your body when you no longer have to pretend. Watch how the connection transforms when it is built on truth instead of image. You have been carrying the exhaustion of performance for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to just exist in someone's presence without managing their perception of you. That freedom is available to you right now, but you have to choose it. You have to be brave enough to put the armor down. And I believe you are. Let me tell you what vulnerability actually looks like in practice, because it is not what most people think. It is not dramatic confessions or emotional breakdowns. It is saying I am having a hard day when someone asks how you are, instead of saying fine. It is admitting you do not know the answer instead of pretending you do. It is telling someone they hurt you instead of pretending they did not. It is small, quiet acts of honesty that gradually teach people around you who you really are. And each one of those acts builds trust. Real trust. The kind that cannot be manufactured through performance. The kind that only comes from seeing someone's truth and choosing to stay. That is the kind of connection your soul has been starving for. Not more people. Not more noise. Just one real moment of being truly seen and still being chosen. That moment is closer than you think. But it requires you to go first. It requires you to open the door before you know what is on the other side. And yes, that is terrifying. But everything worth having lives on the other side of that fear. Some people watch. Others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting. It's about moving. Tip 9. Stop punishing yourself for past decisions. Cancer, we need to address something that has been quietly destroying your peace for longer than you realize. You carry guilt like a second skin. Decisions you made years ago still haunt you. Words you said in moments of pain still echo in your mind. Choices that seemed wrong in hindsight still keep you awake at night. You replay them endlessly. You analyze them from every angle. You imagine what would have happened if you had chosen differently. And in doing so, you sentence yourself to a prison of perpetual regret. But here is what I need you to understand. You made those decisions with the information you had at the time. You made them with the emotional capacity you had at the time. You made them as the version of yourself that existed in that moment, with that level of awareness, that level of maturity, that level of understanding. And that version of you was doing the best they could. You cannot judge yesterday's decisions with today's wisdom. That is not fair. That is not honest. And it is not productive. It is like reading the end of a book, and then going back to criticize yourself for not guessing the plot twist in chapter 3. You did not have the information. You could not have known. And expecting yourself to have made perfect decisions with imperfect knowledge is a form of cruelty that you would never impose on someone you love. So why do you impose it on yourself? I think I know the answer. It is because deep down, you believe that if you punish yourself enough, you can prevent future mistakes. You believe that guilt is a form of insurance, that if you feel bad enough about what went wrong, you can somehow guarantee that nothing will go wrong again. But that is not how it works. Guilt does not prevent mistakes. It prevents growth. It keeps you so focused on what went wrong that you cannot see what is going right. It keeps you so afraid of making another bad choice that you stop making choices altogether. And a life without choices is not a safe life. It is a stuck life. Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It is about saying I am no longer willing to carry this weight. It is about choosing freedom over punishment. It is about recognizing that you have suffered enough, and that continued suffering does not serve anyone, least of all you. You are not the same person who made those decisions. You have grown. You have learned. You have changed in ways that are so profound, the person you were then would barely recognize the person you are now. Honor that growth by releasing the shame that belongs to a version of you that no longer exists. You do not live there anymore. Stop visiting. And let me tell you what happens when you finally forgive yourself. Space opens up. Mental space. Emotional space. Creative space. All that energy you were using to replay old mistakes and rehearse old regrets. It becomes available for something new. For planning instead of ruminating. For creating instead of criticizing. For living instead of reliving. You will be amazed at how much capacity you actually have when you are not spending half of it punishing yourself for being human. Because that is all you were. Human. Imperfect. Learning as you went. Doing the best you could with what you had. And that is not a failure. That is the definition of being alive. So put down the weight. Not because those moments did not matter. They did. But you have already extracted the lesson. You have already grown from the experience. There is nothing left to learn from carrying the pain. The only thing left to do is release it. And that release, it will feel like the first deep breath you have taken in years. Let yourself breathe, Cancer. You have held your breath long enough. Tip 10. Build the life you keep dreaming about instead of just dreaming about it. Cancer, this is the one I have been building toward. Because everything I have shared today, the uncertainty, the conversations, the boundaries, the vulnerability, the forgiveness, it all leads here. To this moment. To this truth. You are an extraordinary dreamer. Your imagination is vast and vivid and beautiful. You can see things that do not exist yet and feel them as if they are already real. You can hold a vision of your future self with such clarity that it brings tears to your eyes. And that gift is rare. Most people cannot visualize their potential the way you can. But here is the gap that needs to be addressed. Dreaming without building is just fantasy. Vision without action is just escape. And for too long, you have been using your imagination as a hiding place instead of a launching pad. You retreat into the world inside your head because it is safer than the world outside. In your mind, everything works out. In your mind, people understand you. In your mind, the risks pay off and the love lasts and the pain has meaning. But life does not happen inside your mind. It happens in the messy, unpredictable, sometimes harsh reality of the physical world. And that world needs what you have. It needs your sensitivity. It needs your intuition. It needs your depth. It needs your capacity for love and care and understanding. But it needs them expressed, not just felt. It needs them built into something tangible. A career that reflects your values. Relationships that honor your heart. A daily life that nourishes you instead of depleting you. A home that feels like a sanctuary. A purpose that gets you out of bed not because you have to, but because you want to. These are not impossible dreams. They are available realities. But they require you to do something that feels terrifying. They require you to bridge the gap between the inner world and the outer world. They require you to take the first step, even when the staircase is dark and you cannot see where it leads. Start small if you need to. One action today. One decision today. One step toward the thing you have been seeing in your mind for so long. Do not worry about the whole staircase. Just take the first step. And then tomorrow take another one. And the day after that, another one. Momentum builds. Small actions compound into massive change. And before you know it, the dream is no longer a dream. It is your life. But only if you start. Only if you move. Only if you choose to be the architect of your reality instead of the spectator of your imagination. The tools are in your hands, Cancer. They have always been there. Now use them. And do not let the size of the dream intimidate you into inaction. The biggest things in this world were all built one small piece at a time. One conversation at a time. One decision at a time. One day at a time. You do not have to see the entire path to start walking. You just need to see the next step. And the next step is always visible if you are willing to look. It might be a phone call you have been putting off. It might be an application you have been meaning to fill out. It might be a conversation with yourself about what you truly want versus what you have settled for. Whatever it is small enough to do today. And today is all you need to worry about. Not next month. Not next year. Today. What can you do today that your future self will thank you for? Answer that question honestly, and then do it. That is how dreams become reality. Not in grand gestures and dramatic leaps of faith. In quiet, consistent, daily acts of courage. And you, Cancer, have more courage inside you than you have ever given yourself credit for. It is time to use it. Tip 11. Trust that you deserve what you desire. There is one final layer that we need to uncover, and it is the one that sits beneath everything else I have shared today. Beneath the fear, beneath the people-pleasing, beneath the guilt, beneath the armor. There is a belief. And that belief is this: you do not fully trust that you deserve what you want. You can dream about it. You can work toward it. You can even catch glimpses of it coming closer. But somewhere in the quiet corners of your heart, there is a voice that says it is too good to be true. That says people like you do not get to have lives like that. That says something will go wrong because something always goes wrong. And that voice, it is not your intuition. It is not your wisdom. It is your wound talking. It is the echo of every time someone made you feel like too much or not enough. It is the residue of every rejection, every dismissal, every moment when you opened your heart and someone treated it carelessly. Those experiences left marks, and those marks became beliefs. And those beliefs became the invisible fence that keeps you pacing inside a space that is far too small for who you are becoming. I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. You deserve love that does not require you to shrink. You deserve success that does not demand you sacrifice your peace. You deserve joy that is not followed by guilt. You deserve stability that is not threatened by every shift in someone else's mood. You deserve all of it, not because you earned it through suffering, not because you proved yourself through sacrifice, but because you exist. Because your desires are not random. They are signals from the deepest part of you, pointing toward the life you were designed to live. When you want something beautiful, that wanting is evidence that it is meant for you, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to grow into the person who can receive it, hold it, sustain it. Your desires are not torturing you, they are guiding you. So stop apologizing for wanting more. Stop minimizing your dreams to make other people comfortable. Stop telling yourself that what you have is enough when your heart is clearly telling you it is not. Wanting more is not greed. It is growth. And you are in a season of growth right now that is going to reshape everything you thought you knew about your own potential. But you have to let it happen. You have to stop blocking your own blessings with the belief that they belong to someone else. They do not. They are yours. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner they arrive. I want you to try something tonight before you sleep. Close your eyes and picture the life you truly want. Not the safe version, not the realistic version, the real one. The one that makes your heart beat faster. The one that scares you a little because of how much you want it. And instead of pulling away from that image the way you usually do, instead of telling yourself to be reasonable, hold it, stay with it, let yourself feel the joy of having it. Let yourself feel the warmth, the peace, the fulfillment. And then say to yourself quietly but firmly, I deserve this. Say it again. I deserve this. Not because you are perfect, not because you have suffered enough to earn it, but because wanting something beautiful is enough. Being alive is enough. Being you is enough. That is the truth that will set everything else in motion. That is the foundation upon which everything else I have shared today can actually take root and grow. Without this belief, every other tip is just theory. With it, everything becomes possible. Everything I have shared with you today, from the conversations you need to have, to the boundaries you need to set, to the guilt you need to release, to the dreams you need to build, it all comes down to one thing: trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your timing. Trust in the path that is unfolding beneath your feet, even when you cannot see where it leads. Cancer, you have spent so much of your life navigating by the emotions of others, reading the room before you read your own heart, adjusting your behavior based on what everyone else needed from you. And in doing that, you became incredibly skilled at taking care of everyone except yourself. But this season is different. This energy is calling you inward. It is asking you to come home to yourself, to sit with your own feelings without trying to fix them, to honor your own needs without justifying them, to move toward your own dreams without waiting for permission. The uncertainty you have been feeling, it is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is shifting. The ground feels unstable because you are outgrowing the foundation you built when you were smaller, when you needed less, when you dreamed less. And now that foundation cannot hold the weight of who you are becoming. So it cracks. And that cracking feels like chaos. But it is actually transformation. Every single tip I shared with you today is a tool. Not just for understanding yourself, but for building a new foundation. One that is strong enough to hold the version of you that is emerging. One that does not require you to shrink. One that does not ask you to perform. One that does not depend on the approval of others to feel solid. You are ready for this. I know it does not always feel that way. I know there are days when you wake up and the weight feels heavier than you can carry. But look at what you have already survived. Look at the storms you have already walked through. Look at how many times you thought you could not go on, and yet here you are. Still standing, still feeling, still hoping. That is not weakness, Cancer. That is the most extraordinary kind of strength there is. The strength to remain soft in a world that rewards hardness. The strength to keep your heart open when every experience has given you a reason to close it. The strength to believe in love, in goodness, in possibility, even when the evidence seems stacked against it. You do not need to have it all figured out today. You just need to take one step, one conversation, one boundary, one moment of honesty with yourself. Let that be enough for now. And trust that the next step will reveal itself when you are ready, because it will. It always does. And the life that is waiting for you on the other side of this uncertainty, it is worth every uncomfortable moment it takes to get there. I am not asking you to believe in me. I am asking you to believe in yourself, because you, Cancer, are far more powerful than you have allowed yourself to realize. And the world is about to find that out. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift. or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.